Most people have heard of piston rings but have never actually seen one. However, what would happen if one of these piston rings broke? Let's investigate. The typical symptoms of a damaged piston ring and the price of replacement are covered in this video. It's the Car Problems YouTube channel. Subscribe, and let's get started. A large amount of oil disappears. The oil will become entangled in the combustion process when the piston rings fail to prevent it from leaking into the cylinder. Your car's engine oil level will drop as all of your engine oil leaks into the cylinder slowly and gradually. More frequent oil refills would be required. You might feel that your car needs oil by 3,000 miles if you were to change the oil every 5,000 miles. You should schedule an appointment with your auto mechanic right away if you see such a phenomenon. A specialist will examine the engine's piston rings and valve seals and recommend replacements as necessary. Weak acceleration. Pressure in the engine's combustion chamber decreases when the piston rings are damaged. Because the piston is unable to fully compress the fuel and air mixture, the engine loses power as a result. The engine produces less power per cycle as a result. Even when you press the accelerator to the absolute maximum, your car might not accelerate as it should. Your piston rings may need to be replaced if you experience a loss of acceleration. Oil leaks. High pressure within the crankcase is a sign of damaged piston rings. As a result, the engine sealings deteriorate and begin to leak oil. You must check the crankcase pressure if you notice multiple oil leaks. This can be accomplished by carefully opening the oil cap while the engine is running at idle. There ought to be a slight vacuum instead of any pressure at all. You might have damaged piston rings if the oil cap blows off along with a lot of smoke. Blue smoke, emitting from the exhaust. In addition to reducing performance, worn-out piston rings will also produce blue smoke from your car's exhaust. A dense blue cloud of smoke emerges from the exhaust when oil ignites and combines with the fuel-air mixture. Due to its nearly instantaneous nature, this is typically the first symptom you will experience. If such an issue arises, you should speak with a mechanic as soon as possible. The problem will get more complicated the longer you ignore it. In the end, more engine components will sustain damage, raising the expense of repair. Replacement cost. Your piston rings can be replaced for anywhere from $10 to $1,500. Depending on the model of the car and labor costs. Depending on your car's cylinder count, the cost of the piston rings can range from $40 to $200. The cost of labor ranges from $1,000 to $4,000. Despite their small size, piston rings are costly to replace. It all depends on the make and model of your car, but you should budget between $40 and $200 for the piston rings alone. Although it may not seem like much, keep in mind that labor costs are high. The mechanic must disassemble the engine and reach inside to remove the old piston rings and replace them with new ones, because they are deep within the engine. The entire process necessitates accuracy and takes time. The engine needs to be disassembled and reinstalled in its original location after the replacement piston rings are installed. Your mechanic will need at least 16 hours to finish the job. A qualified mechanic will most likely complete the task more quickly and correctly. You must measure the ring cap and fit the piston rings in the proper order to install them correctly. It is also necessary to measure and inspect the cylinder walls for wear before replacing the piston rings. Depending on the engine, you should budget between $1,000 and $4,000 for labor to replace the piston rings correctly. However, replacing them yourself can be done fairly cheaply if you know how to do it. Get ready for a major task requiring extensive knowledge. While disassembling the engine, you might also need to replace other components or even rebuild the engine block. I hope the information was helpful for you. If so, please press the like button and subscribe to the channel.